Really
very
cool, though.
sad in this day and age that you have to send your kids to one school or half an hour travel each way.
Yeah.
Because there is no other option.
Yeah.
We agree with that.
Yeah.
As financially as well, you know what I mean? Like, public schools are important, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and
half an hour travel, it's not
yeah,
free.
exactly. You know, like,
$50 a week, some schools charge kids to travel.
that's
That's
it.
on top of your fees already. Like, you know, it's crazy.
I'm here in Wilton for the most important announcement in Wollondilly in a generation, right? I'm here. This is all being filmed vertical. It'll go over for 20 minutes though, so if you don't like watching vertical videos, soz.
Welcome to something very, very exciting. I first will recognise the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet. You can just see how beautiful this area is. It's an amazing area. The whole of the Wollondilly electorate is beautiful like this. And it might be a beautiful area, but it has some beautiful housing coming, but for many years we've actually not received any infrastructure of any significance. I'm going to read a little bit of a speech so I don't miss anything. This is such an exciting occasion, I could miss a whole lot of things. I don't know whether people realise, but this is going to be the second high school in the Wollondilly Shire and the third high school, and it's preschool, primary and high school. But the high school, the last time we got a high school was in 1958 at Picton, and before that was in 1930 at Bowral. So finally we're actually getting something for here. It's going to be co-located with a new primary school at this address, and I believe the mound over there is probably where the high school will happen. And what I want to do is thank the government for listening to my concerns, because we've seen over, people have saying 20, 30 years, the promises that have been made about getting a high school for us. And it's gone on, and everybody promises at each election that they're going to deliver a high school. The government have listened, your advocacy has paid off, and I'm so thrilled to be able to represent you with a government that's listening, that is actually delivering. You will see students in these schools by 2027, and that's amazing. We not only need it, we deserve it. The Wollondilly electorate has been, missing out for a long time, and I did a few facts this morning, and if our high school students spend an hour in the bus or the car each day going to and from high school, they actually lose 200 days of sunshine and family time just travelling to high school. It also means they don't get to spend time with their friends and playing sport in the area. So this is incredible. I'd like to thank everybody, the community, but I have here, the Deputy Premier, Prue Carr, who is the Minister for Education, who's had meetings with us, and any time we've asked for the meetings, she's been available, and therefore she's delivering. And I also have Melinda, who's the, Director of Education, that covers nearly all of my electorate, and any time we have an issue, she's also there. So the hugest thank you to Prue, and I'm going to ask her to address you, but I kind of feel like doing a Toyota jump at this point. So exciting for the people of Wollondilly electorate. So Prue, over to you.
Thanks, Judy. Judy is absolutely tireless for Wollondilly, and there is no way that as a government we were going to get away with not delivering this primary school and high school. And I know why the people of this community elected her. That's very clear, and she is more than delivering in spades, because she just did not rest with both the Premier and myself about getting this sorted. And what I'm about to announce today is actually something that will be, it's not an election commitment, it's actually something that will be budgeted for and delivered within this term of government. So you'll be able to see it happen before this term of Parliament is out. It's not just an election commitment. I want to make that really clear, because that's really, really important. Look, every child in New South Wales deserves access to public education. Every child in New South Wales deserves to go to their local public primary and high school. And I was pretty sympathetic to what Judy was saying on behalf of this community, because I also come from a part of Sydney, in northwestern Sydney, where we also didn't have primary and high schools built for years and years, while thousands of people moved in and built high when driving here into this beautiful community, I could understand what was going on here. It's not good enough that schools and roads and public transport were not built for communities like this. It's just not good enough. So we're announcing today that this government, by 2027, you will have a preschool and a primary school and the first cohort of kids to go through a high school at Wilton, finally. The primary school detailed designs and plans will be open to public exhibition next week. There'll be a community information session next week for people to start contributing, the community to start contributing about the shape that the primary school takes with a co-located public preschool. That means we're talking about public preschool to year 12 for families in Wilton. And because of this announcement that finally a government is actually coming up and committing to a high school in Wilton, we now start the work on that in terms of ensuring we have the site ready. We'll start to go out with plans as they progress for the high school. The primary school is further along, but the high school, the first cohort of young people, will walk through those doors in 2027. What those cohorts will look like, we'll work with the local community on what the need is, but our commitment clearly is that by 2027, the first children will walk through the doors of a high school at Wilton. It is long, long overdue. Opening those doors by 2027 is as fast as it possibly humanly can be done. This is a priority for our government. You're hearing it straight from us. It is the basic of what local families deserve, to be able to put your children in their local public primary and high school. Can I just say also, the benefits of having sites that will be public preschool and primary school and then high school nearby is so important educationally for your children. We all know, those of us that have had young kids, those transition points can be really difficult for young kids from preschool to kindergarten, from year 6 to year 7. But this means that those transition points will be easier on families and our young people. The preschoolers will see what's happening in the primary school. They'll be able to get to know the staff, the bigger kids, have a buddy system probably with the other older kids in primary school. And then similarly as they make that transition from year 6 to year 7. So not only is it excellent in terms of convenience-wise for hard-working families, and I know how hard you must be working to afford these mortgages here in these beautiful suburbs, but it also, I truly believe, based on the very best educational advice, will be great for your children's education, because the transition will mean that those points will be easier so they can realise their true potential. So I just want to say thank you to this community for firstly electing Judy Hannan to fight for this, and to Judy for being tireless in every meeting with Chris Minns and I talking about this. I know that the next meeting I have with Judy will be like, now what's happening with the high school? So we will keep on top of it, which is fine. That's good. That's democracy. That's what local members are supposed to do, and ministers are supposed to listen to local members regardless of where they sit in the chamber. And this is really excellent, I think, that an independent member has been able to get this out of a government, a Labor government. So look, it's actually government's doing what they're supposed to do. You pay your taxes, we're going to give you your schools that you've always deserved, and I'm really looking forward to working with this community to make sure these schools are what you always needed, and I can't wait to see these little people walk through the doors. Thanks so much.
As a local teacher, I taught in the Wollondilly community for quite a number of years, and now as the Director of Educational Leadership that oversees the Wilton community, I too am so excited to hear the announcement that there will be new schools in this area. What I'm most impressed by is the forward-thinking approach that's been applied in this instance. We're not waiting for the pressure to mount, and we're really putting families first to ensure that we're meeting local needs. I've had many parents contact me over the years concerned about the length of time that their children are spending on buses being transported to and from school. So it's great news, and I know that this school, both preschool, primary and high school, are going to make a lasting impact for generations to come. So thank you all for the work that you've done, and thank you to the community. I know sometimes you feel that your voice isn't heard, but it's absolutely been heard, and I'm just so proud to be a part of this process. Thank you.
Do we know the closest current school at the moment? We're talking about those long bus trips. What's the closest for families?
Closest is Picton Picton High School. Picton High School has about 1,300 students at the moment. It's busting at the seams, and it takes students from here at least in well, there's probably no public transport, but it takes a long time for the students to get there from here. We've got lots of primary schools, and this one will add to it because Wilton's already busting, but to have a high school that we can actually send students to in this area will be amazing.
Can I just say something about Picton High School? Not only is it a long way away, when the promise, when the commitment from government is always that you should be able to go to your local public school, like Picton is not the local school that this community deserves. The staff and the principal and everyone at Picton do an amazing job. But I just want to say also that not only is it a long way away, it's busting at the seams, and the former government really stuffed up the upgrade at Picton. We've had to go in and put in walls in the classrooms because some genius thought it would be a good idea to upgrade high school and not put walls in a classroom with teenagers. But that's just a small political point that I had to make. But the truth is, it's too far away. People are used to high schools being a little bit further away than your local public school, because usually your kids when they're small can walk to your local primary school, but it shouldn't be that far. It shouldn't be from Wilton to Picton. And when I heard Judy talk about the fact that that was built in, what did you say,
1958.
So just think about how this area has changed from 1958 to now. The fact that there's not been a high school announcement since that time is an absolute disgrace. That is this community being completely let down by all levels of government of every political persuasion until now, because you don't have to be even from here to know that this whole community has changed in the last 10 years, let alone since 1950. So it's been a long time coming.
How many students are we expecting to take up seats in classrooms?
Yeah, well look, the primary school will be it'll be master planned for eventually to be able to take up to 1,000 students. That's forward planning for the future. The high school, we start that work now. Obviously we need to do the work of making sure that we look at what feeder primary schools will go into this new high school, what would be the capacity of that high school. I'd imagine we'd be looking at a pretty large high school for Wilton if eventually we're thinking that the capacity of the primary school might be 1,000, definitely not to start with, but making sure that it's master planned eventually to be built in stages so that it would be able to achieve that capacity if need be. Because one lesson we have learned from growth areas on the suburban fringe around Sydney and the outer parts of Sydney is build it and they'll come. So we build primary schools and seem to be shocked that people come to them, and then we are shocked when they're full. So we need to be as forward planning as possible. It'll be up to 1,000 for the primary school. The high school is a work in progress.
So does that mean that the school itself, there'll be space for expansion?
Yeah, so the way we do these things in these new builds in new areas is we'll make sure that the school is built for what we believe the current capacity would be on enrolment, and then there will be physically space to expand if we need to expand, to make sure that if we think eventually there'll be up to 1,000 kids, which is a pretty big primary school, but not outside the realms of possibility in the suburban outer fringe, that we have space to do that.
So you spoke of this being a very, the community is growing, and
Yep.
it's fantastic that you have that you have announced a school here after 1958 was the first and only school built in the Wollondilly area. Are you looking at building a third high school at the other end of the electorate?
Yeah, look, you've just forgive me for, I think I'll just stick with the one high school today. Next term. Maybe next term, Judy says, okay. But what I would say is there's obviously a need that has been unmet for a long time. When it comes to addressing needs that have been unmet, it is a bit of, for us, playing a game of whack-a-mole, unfortunately, in terms of making sure that we invest where it's urgently needed or going to be urgently needed, and then moving on to the next challenge. So that may be the next challenge in Wollondilly, but we're completely open to addressing those challenges, and we hope that the buildings that will start coming out of the ground here will prove to the community that we're not all talk, that we're actually doing it, and you will soon see buildings being built.
On that note,
Yeah.
the super fast timeline for students in the door, like to get them in by 2027, when do we anticipate community consultation for a bunch of stuff to do with the high school? Do you know?
Community consultation will begin really mostly about the primary school next week.
Yeah.
But at that community consultation, we'll start discussions about the high school.
Oh,
Because
cool.
obviously, it's pretty difficult to separate them, because there's going to be lots of parents who have children in the older part of primary school ages that will want to know, hang on, what's happening when they get to access high school. People make decisions about where they're going to enroll kids, if they have to pull them out, if they have to move, all that stuff. So that will start next week.
Yep.
But really the detailed designs and plans for the primary school are ready. That will come shortly for the high school. But really we wanted to take this opportunity while out unveiling these plans for the primary school to reassure the community that the high school is happening and it will be budgeted for and all that stuff. So look, I don't think Judy will let us get away with anything but really good community consultation. So I'd urge you to be involved in that through the formal ways of the community information sessions, through your local member. There'll be lots of times we'll be down here spruiking what's happening, because we want, not only do we want to get this up and running, we want local parents to enrol their children in these schools.
What about the teachers who are going to be... Oh, sorry.
There's one person who's
Yeah.
waiting.
No, you're right.
I think you've already answered my question, but just for those who came late, so
Yeah.
this high school is 100% going ahead, or is
Yes.
it proposed? Yay, 2027.
Well, the first
Yeah.
cohort will go through in 2027.
Yes.
So this is the first ever announcement about it. So we've got a lot of work to do with you
Yeah.
to make sure that it's done properly. We'll work with the community on what cohorts they are to start with, whether it's year 7 or year 7 and 8, whatever's best in terms of subject choice, what we can get up in terms of the building.
Yeah.
It's a very short timeline, but it's really needed. It has been done, I want to assure you, in other growing parts of Sydney where we've pushed, it can be done. Yeah, it
My
definitely can be done.
My community have been led along for so many years, for so many things, that they have to ask those questions because they're reticent to believe delivery.
Yeah.
People say they're delivering in all sorts of facets, but you're actually going to see this come out of the ground.
Great.
That's a good point, in that I'm here saying this, and it's your lives that is being, I really get it. I'm from a similar part of outer Sydney. Just believe us when you see the work happening.
What about the teachers who
Yeah.
are going to take up posts here? Where are they coming from?
Well, actually, we as a government are really proud of the work we're doing to ensure that we are driving down teacher vacancies. In fact, since we came to government, teacher vacancies have dropped by 40%. It's because we've given teachers the biggest pay rise in a generation. We've made thousands and thousands of them permanent. We actually are seeing a dramatic increase in the amount of students being offered teaching places in universities. In fact, the highest growth of anywhere in Australia has been in New South Wales. There's been a 34% increase in the number of offers being given to students wanting to do teaching degrees. That's what we want to hear. Less of them are leaving. Resignations that are an all-time low. Retirements are at 4-year lows. We're doing everything possible to get the teachers in. I would hazard a guess that there's actually probably a lot of teachers that live in these communities, and they'll be knocking on the door to get placements here at Wilton and at the high school. So I'd make an educated guess that a lot of the teachers will be local, which is even better for the community.
There's already a lot of interest. People reach out to me often to say, I'm hearing rumours, so I don't think that will be an issue really.
So not only will they be excellent teachers, because all of our teachers are expert practitioners making a difference in the classroom, they'll be locals mostly who are invested in the community. That's the magic of what's going on.
So I'm here with Susie Brandstatter. She's a counsellor, and it's the most exciting years for the region in almost a generation, right?
It is, absolutely. 1998, they said they were going to start building a high school.
Yeah.
It's finally now happening.
That's happening.
So,
And, how long did you teach at Picton High?
34 years.
34 years. And how, of the 34 years, how long do you reckon it was congested there for and overpopulated?
Since about 1990.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I was there, I graduated in 2008 and we needed a new high school then. So.
Yep, and it was promised in 1998,
Yeah.
and now it's finally happening.
How exciting, right? So you heard it here. Yeah, it's happening, and there's signs, and it's in paper, and the Education Minister has guaranteed it. It's going to happen before the next election campaign. It's not just a promise, right?
It does, and it shows how everybody, community, all levels of government have all worked together.
Yeah, and the power of independence as well, right?
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Judy's efforts as an independent have been huge, right?
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. Thanks, Susie. Awesome.